Hello, I'm host Eric. Welcome to Talking with Famous People. I'm talking with Patrick Nasty, and he just shared with me a piece of writing of his, and I read it, and I shared with him a poem of mine, although I shared it to him in the song form of the poem, and he listened to it, and we were talking previously about aesthetic relativism. First, let me start by talking a little bit about his piece of writing, which is on the body side, let's say, Baudy, meaning, of course, slightly blue or adult in nature. But the thing about it is, and I'll tell you who it reminded me a bit of in terms of prose, uh, at least in terms of its leanness, was Raymond Chandler.
Really?
Yeah, but of course not its lightheartedness, right? There's
Right,
there's
right.
a difference in tone, even if
Hmm.
the construction is similar, right? It's the way that you do dialogue that reminds me of him specifically.
I've only
Um,
read a few Taylor stories, so that's a very interesting observation.
uh, but what I particularly noted is the care you took in excising unnecessary words. I think that's really the key to successful writing. Once you get down the nature of voice, which sort of happens naturally as your childhood progresses and you read and stuff. If you've got the right cognitive functions, what type are you? I forget, Patrick.
You typed me as INTP.
Okay, well that would make perfect sense then. Because if you're INTP, you'd have the right cognitive function stack to be the people who are the best writers in terms of craftsmanship, in terms of mechanics, are ENTPs and INTPs.
Hmm.
And it's a toss up as to who's better. There's no, they're basically right the same.
Right,
ENTPs tend to be err on the side of too much verbosity, and INTPs tend to err on the side of too little emotionalism.
right.
But but in terms of quality level, they're both spot on. They understand cadence and voice perfectly. They understand the auditory part of it perfectly. Now it sounds to me that you're a very visual INTP, which is certainly plausible because I know a very auditory INFJ, and you think of
Great.
INFJs as necessarily visual. He is 100% auditory, and yet he's 100% INFJ, and so sometimes you get those kind of reverse things. And it sounds to me like you got the best of both worlds here. If you got a good visual eye and you've got a good auditory sense of language progression, then you're well equipped to mix and match and find some sort of mush together medium that serves you well. I'd encourage you to take as much action as possible as well, because as an INTP, you know how I have all those problems with emotions. I don't know how many of my videos you watch, but if you watch a few of them, then you may notice that I kind of have a problem with my emotions sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you cry on the camera, but I don't know if it's really a problem.
Well, yeah, it's the problem when emotions come out of nowhere, hit you on the side of the head like a two by four, and then leave before you even are aware of what exactly happened. To me,
Yeah, I mean that happens to me too. So.
okay. Well, I would just say that in general, the INTP is their weakest function, or their version of my emotions, is SE, which is the do it, just do it function, right?
Yeah.
So I would always encourage any INTP, whatever your idea is, just fucking do it. It's way better than you fear it is. I guarantee you
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah. I've definitely learned that. Yeah.
Now it's possible too you're an ENTP. You never know. Do you feel like an INTP or an ENTP?
Like honestly, I feel like both. Like honestly, I'll look at pictures of myself or my past life, and I was not introverted as a kid. All I did as a kid was ride my bike over stairs and play sports, and well, okay. When I was say like in high school, I would listen to a lot of music, and and there was a couple people who I was interested in, like guitar players, like Joe Satriani and Steve Vai. And they are very technical, and I was interested in the technical part of it, but I never bothered to learn the technical, the technical part of it. It was just too much. I didn't care. I mean, I cared about it, but I didn't care that much to actually learn it.
Right.
And so yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of life experiences that over the last few years. Like I've told you before that I was married to an ESFJ, and then I was in a long-term relationship with an ESTJ, and combine that over 17 years, I'm pretty toned down for whatever I am.
Well, look, if you are an ENTP, if you're a natural ENTP and you were married to an ESFJ for that long, then like me, you ended up clashing basically over who was the supporting actor in this relationship and who was the main actor.
Okay, explain that a little bit more.
Well, once I stopped drinking and I was able to be myself, a natural version of myself, the problem was I was more than happy to have Candace play along in my game with me, what I was doing. I was more than happy to play along with Candace in her game, but how I wanted to, not how she wanted me to. And she
Right.
basically was sort of the same way in reverse, except she basically expected me to be, she wanted me to be her INTP and go around and
Right.
be supportive of her projects and my projects be kind of undercover or whatever. Whatever I'm doing is not an extroverted thing, it's an introverted thing. It's basically what
Yeah.
she wanted. And I was fine. I was much more adaptable, of course, than an ESFJ is. And I was fine with adapting and saying, well, look, I'd be happy to participate with you in all your shit, but you've got to give me flexibility to do it my way. It's going to fail if you try to force me to do it your way. I know what I'm doing. I'm not drunk anymore. She never could come to terms with that.
Okay. Yeah. I uh I feel like I have the same conflict with the ESFJ and the ESTJ. It's basically they wanted their way, I wanted my way, and I wasn't willing. I was willing to do a little bit their way, but I wasn't willing to back down.
I'm familiar with that.
It's because like the the FE and the TE wants things a certain way, and at at some point it's like you're bullshit.
If I could just
You're just
pause for
not.
1 second, I just want to say hello to our guest who's now on camera and to beg their patience for a moment as I would like to, ideally, finish this conversation with Patrick, which I'm enjoying very much. So I'll be with you when we're done here. Thank you for your patience. Yes, I see your hand waving, Tiffany. All right. So, Patrick, um, did you feel was did you feel as though you wanted more of a you wanted more support from the ASFJ in terms of what you thought was the direction of things? Did you feel like you were somewhat on a different script than the ASFJ, or can you give me a little bit more details about how that not how you wanted it to be turned out?
Yeah, she just wanted to clean shit, and I just wanted to like come up with ideas.
Right. What did you
And
want to
same
do
with the
with
ES.
the What did you want to do with the ideas, though?
I really wanted to just come up with the idea and then tell other people to do it for me.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that. And have everyone go,
Like,
"Oh
like
my God, your idea is so brilliant! Can we please do that for you? I want
I
that
know,
too."
and that was the big problem with both the ESFJ and the ESTJ is that I would come up with all these ideas and they would shoot me down. I mean, like, you're fucking killing me. I want you to tell me my ideas are awesome, even if they're not awesome. I want you to tell me they're awesome.
Right, you're not even trying. What the hell? Well,
Yeah, it's like you're an SJ. You should be my bitch.
here's the thing about the what I experienced with that is I asked even less than that. I asked very little. I just said, just don't make me feel like I'm doing something wrong when I'm making a YouTube video.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that that's what I
That makes sense.
asked. I was unable to get that. I mean, eventually I sort of did. Like
Yeah.
one time she sort of said, one time she said, "Okay, look, I think the interviewing of other people, I think that might be a good idea." That was about as much as I ever got out of her.
Right. Yeah. It was. It was. It's so little. There's like you have these ideas to do things, and there's so little feedback. It's just like this little crumb.
We need an ISFJ. That's the key. I think you're an ENTP. I think you're an ENTP that's been oppressed for a long time.
I I really feel like that, and the INFJ typed me as that one time.
Really? Well, you can trust INFJs. They know what the fuck they're talking about. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I think you're an ENTP who's been oppressed too long, and you're busting out right now. Welcome to Talking with Famous People. This is our liberation zone. All right.
I have an I have an ISFJ mom and an ESTJ dad.
That's just the same as me.
Yeah, and I think there's narcissism and there's codependency in my family. And when I started to call out bullshit when I was 14 or 15 or so, that I became the shitting ground, and I got a bunch of shit.
Well, see, I think that in that regard we differ. My parents are very healthy versions of that relationship.
I watched some of your videos where uh, you were looking at the photo albums, and
Uh-huh.
it seemed like you had a better family relationship than I did.
Yeah, my dad was kind of cold and distant, but made it very clear to me that he loved me as best he could. You know, he tried. He had his weird. You know, they're kind of weird ESTJs.
I'll tell you, they are. I was in a relationship with one for 7.5 years,
So you know,
and
they're kind of weird.
they actually really care about people, but they are weird.
Right. So my dad's like that. But he made it very clear to me how much he loved me at all times. He was very concerned about making sure that I understood that as best he could show it, you know? So, I had I had excellent parents. I was very fortunate. My parents both loved me very much. They did the best they could. My ISFJ mom was a dream, a perfect, was exactly what an ENTP needs, right? That's why my dual is an ISFJ. I need one. It's like when you were saying, "Hey, you're supposed to be my bitch." I mean, in a nicer way. Hopefully, we can say that, but
Yeah,
that's
I'm
what we
seeing
need. I mean,
I'm like,
ISFJ is willing to do that in a way that ESFJ is not.
oh, that's for sure. That's for sure.
That's my point. I'm looking for an ISFJ, and I hope
Yeah,
you find your ISFJ too, Mr. Patrick. I surely do.
I appreciate it. Yeah, because my ex ESTJ girlfriend, her mom was ISFJ, and me and the mom would talk all the time, and she would laugh at everything I said. The ESTJ would never laugh at anything I said. She would think I was being offensive all the time.
Right. Well, because they're obsessed with the rules.
With the rules and how they feel about the rules. And I noticed I have an INFP friend, and the ESTJ and the INFP will say the same thing. Like, they'll watch a movie and they'll be like, I don't know how I feel about this. And like, they'll sit there and just try to work out how they feel about it. And it's really weird because they're so different, but they're so the same at the same time.
Well, you know, INFP is one type I really I don't know any. I feel as though I have very little understanding of them. I think they're one of my least understood, for host Eric only, types.
Yeah. I have a couple INFP friends, and it's like I feel like I have to walk around landmines. I have to be very careful because I can really easily offend them, and that will send them off into freak out land.
That's probably why I don't know any. On that note, let's end this episode of Talking with Famous People. Thank you very much to famous person Patrick. I'm going to link to the piece of text that I was talking about and we talked about for a little while in this video. And we'll talk to you again soon. Out has been host Eric for Famous Person Patrick. Talking with famous people. Goodbye.